Welcome
Hello,
back.
hello, hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Of course, of
I
course.
missed y'all last week.
I
It's been a
know we
couple of
missed
weeks
you.
since I've been
Yeah.
able to be here, and I am so grateful to be back. And thanks for holding everything down while I was gone. I appreciate it.
Yes. Yes, of
So,
course. Of
how
course.
the heck are you?
Good. You dancing with your hand reminds me of Sheila K. Collins' book. I've been reading it since she came down and did her event. And part of it is like, even if you dance with your hand, and I like moved my hand when I was reading it. So my hand's kind of stiff. Like it could use some practice, but dance however you can. And that's what I've been working on. Dancing every day still, like we talked about at the beginning of the year.
Right?
Yeah.
In Interplay, we have a form called One Hand Dance. And I was speaking at a conference, not this year, but last year. And this woman came up to me and she said, I took your online session last year, and I'm coming this year to take it in person because I want to tell you, you changed my life. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, tell me more, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said, I am a play therapist that didn't know how to be in my own body.
Wow.
And she said, after your class and you taught us the one hand dance, something
Yeah.
shifted for me. And I went to my own personal therapist and she's like, wait, what happened? Something has changed here. What happened? And she's like, oh, I was in this conference and she just taught us this one simple little form. And so it makes me think about that when you say one hand dance,
Yeah.
because it's powerful. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be huge things that we do sometimes that
Mhm.
can make a difference.
Yeah,
But
this was the woman that came up to you on stage, right? Like you
mhm,
were coming off stage. I remember you sharing that story. I don't think
mhm,
you had told as many details though. And that's
mhm.
huge when you go back to the people that know you and they could tell a difference.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you talking about Sheila's book, The Art of Grieving, let me remember the co-title on that. The Art of Grieving, How the Arts and Art Making Help Us Grieve and Live Our Best Lives by Dr.
Yeah.
K. Collins, one of
Mhm.
our Women Connected in Wisdom. Yeah, boy, that book has been really present for me as I move through this season. And as our listeners know, losing my dad and going back to Texas in July for for the funeral. Like, yeah. So I think that was the last time I was on air with you. Was in the midst of all of that.
Hi y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all-natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self-care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are podcasts rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. How do we do this thing called life, right?
Yes. It's funny. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately, and one of the ladies was talking about how men aren't asked that. How do you do it all? And I said, dang, even in the questions we asking, are we thinking from
Are we
this
setting
box of
ourselves up?
how, you know what I mean, of how we are taught to think? And I'm so
Right?
excited to have this conversation about deconditioning, how to be
Mhm.
intentional about your human design, who you are, and everything that goes into that with occupational wellness. But I was thinking about that for our podcast. But it's what
Right?
we're talking about because we ladies have a
It
lot to do.
is.
The women take care of a lot, and we need to know how to do it. So I think it's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I just also think about how we move through the world in community, right? I think about, because a lot of folks have been asking me how I'm doing, what's going on, and I'm sad, but I'm also grateful because I am so lucky for the connections I have in my life. And when you have a full life and have so many connections, um, then with it comes loss often, right?
Yeah.
And but I have to tell you, and I said this ahead of the show, but I'm going to say it for our listeners because I am just, first of all, I'm tickled. Y'all know I love politics. I love to talk about politics. And we don't do that a lot on the show. I just have to lift up Kamala
Yes.
and the potential of being the first woman president as the Women
Yes.
in Wisdom podcast.
Yes.
I have to lift up her new running mate because one of the last conversations I had with my dad was we talked about stuff all the time and politics and he was worried about the children. And as one of the last, very last, as he was dying conversations was, okay, Dad, because he was really worried about leaving us and not being able to protect us. And I was like, Dad, you're the one that taught me we're more than these bodies and that you can do so much, wherever you are. And we're going to give you a few assignments. And one of the assignments was, we got a mess down here in the US. Can you help fix it? Right? Like, I know you're supposed to be resting in internal peace and all that, but that just a little help from the other side, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was so tickled when Governor Walz was named because he was a history coach for 20 years and a football coach, which is
Mhm.
my dad was a life science coach for that
Mhm.
many years or longer and the football coach. And so my cousin even texted me from San Diego yesterday saying, Tim Walz is given your dad's vibes all over the place. And it was just such a sweet, I don't know, it was sweet. It just kind of was so sweet to me that what's currently happening in our political landscape
Mhm.
also is reminding me of a very sweet part of my childhood and how awesome my dad was. So yeah,
Yes. I hear what you're saying. And you know what I'm going to say first is you do know.
I do
Yes, you
know.
do know.
Yeah,
We
you're right.
literally
You're
wrote a
right. You're
book on
right.
these things and we still have to practice it. It's okay.
Right?
But yeah, you're allowed to feel that way. You're allowed to feel that way. And we were just talking about it. It's been so interesting, even through this political process, through this process with you, because there was a white gentleman's funeral that I went to before. It was in church. I don't know if I had ever seen this man before, but we were there, right? Like it was just one of the leaders in church. And so we were there and I remember it. And we're going through everything with your dad. And I said, wow, I think this is the most that a white man passing away has affected my life. Like things have been
Mm,
pulled and being
right?
able to honor him and you and grateful for him because without him, there would be no you. And we
Right?
definitely need all of the work that we're doing right now. So it's been interesting to walk through and you have the right to say, hey, he's amazing in the ways that my dad was amazing.
Right.
Yeah,
It
and that
just
that gets me
tickles
excited.
me. Well, it
Yeah.
tickles me and he's goofy and he
Yeah.
like just all the things, but also like I don't know. I'm a meaning maker. I like to look for little
Me too.
signs and things
Yes.
and I don't know. It just brings me hope and comfort
But
and
you know what's interesting? I did think about Dr. Davis, and that was, and there's a couple of white guys that mean a lot in my life, right? Not, I don't discriminate, but it just whoever is important ends up being important,
right.
right? And my band director, you guys know I love band, forever a band nerd, and I saw him. There was this picture, and he was waving up to the crowd on one side, and Kamala was pointing on the other side, and I said, "Yep, he looks like Dr. Davis at a football game or something," you know, so. To find out he's a coach, he knows how to do this.
Right,
Yeah,
right, and
yeah.
yeah, it's very I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
I haven't been paying as much attention as I usually do just because of taking care of family things and travel and what's been going on, but, I'm I can ride that wave of excitement and get back in that way
Yeah.
because we're within 100 days. And so that is something I do want to say to everybody. We say it every year, no matter your politics, no matter where you are, check your voter registration
Mhm.
and make sure you're registered to vote because we live in the United States and that is one of our civic duties.
Mm.
So,
It's
yeah.
important. It's
And in
important.
Georgia, we really need to, Shannon, because they're clearing the rolls.
Mm.
So check your voter's registration.
Oh, it's
So,
checked. It's ready. I'm ready for the poll this year and whatever happens. I told you we went last time and the doors were closed, so we went the next day.
I
So we're gonna get it done. No problem.
right,
And
right.
that's
Let's
where I'm
talk
kind of
about
living.
occupational wellness.
Yeah, and before we go into it, I do want to give another spotlight for the joy that we see her have,
Yes.
right? Because we could talk a
Mm,
lot about candidates being qualified, histories, all this stuff, but
mm,
I'm where I'm living with it is just the joy of seeing her happy, seeing her have the opportunity to do it, and what that means. I'm not gonna let all the hoorah overcast that.
We're not going to take that for granted. I mean, it was Shirley Chisholm who
Mhm.
was one of the first females to run for president of the United States, a Black
Yeah.
female,
Mhm.
in the 70s,
Right.
and paved the way, right? We stand, and we know this. We know this as humans, but especially as women. Like, we stand on other women's shoulders of what's allowed and what's not allowed. And I'm forever sending you things on Instagram of, did you know that we just got the right to do this
I
and
was gonna
do
didn't
this?
you just send me that? And in 1988, they could deny an apartment if she had children? What are you talking?
Absolutely.
I saw it.
Absolutely. That was the year I graduated from high school. And you still could be denied the right to rent an apartment if you were a mom with children.
So,
Yeah.
I thought about all the Black moms on assistance and stuff. Like, not only
Mhm.
were they trying to make it so the men weren't there, if you had children, you couldn't get anywhere to live. Like,
Right.
that's crazy. It's a lot. So with
Right.
occupational wellness, I think about keeping the joy in there, being mindful and considerate of different places that people are coming from. When I was a restaurant manager, thankfully, I was able to learn a secondhand lesson from somebody of the considerations that moms might need for timeliness. I'm like, if you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you're definitely late, but people have children, things move. So you got to work with the ebb and flow of the reality of operations.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we're not going to talk politics the whole show, but I do have to say,
Okay.
Tim Walz in
Mhm,
Minnesota, I was reading about his record,
mhm,
and he passed medical family leave for Minnesotans,
mhm.
where you can't be fired if you have to take off to take your child to the doctor, like,
So,
which directly impacts. I mean, I think that needs to happen for our whole country, but
yeah.
when you think about women and you think about caregivers and you think about the different roles, that's what made me think about that when you said that,
Mhm,
because some of these things, if you're in a white collar job, we
mhm,
take for granted. And there's so many people that we know that are listeners or that are impacted in different ways where, we don't need to take it for granted. And even though we have that privilege, we need to make sure that our sisters around us have that privilege because, yeah, this raising kids and taking care of aging parents and all the things we do is, not always the easiest task.
yeah,
Woo. I mean,
yeah,
I think about this when I think about occupational wellness, right? Because according to our definition,
yeah,
occupational wellness represents living in the purpose,
mhm,
passion, and productivity in one's chosen profession.
yes,
It includes work life balance. And we always say it like this because, how in the world? I love the way Stacey Abrams says it. She says work life Jenga. But
yes,
as a fulfilling and productive professional life is fitting to weave together with a healthy personal life. So, how do we do that? How do we weave that together?
yeah. The purpose of somebody as a parent, and also their purpose, giving their and sharing their skills and gifts with the world professionally. Both can be true, but both
Right.
need space. Yeah.
Well, and when we talk about having it all, like originally I was supposed to be in Colorado this week.
Mhm,
And between the travel I've had, between health stuff coming up, and Sammy, my youngest, goes back to college this Sunday.
mm,
Well, it's her senior year. So I wasn't thinking much about it because I'm like, she's got this. She knows how, like, she's got this. She's grown. And she was like, she really came and said, like, Mom, like, I need your support this week. And is there any way you can be home? I was like, absolutely.
mm,
Right. So sometimes we have to sort that out for the occupational wellness. Like,
uh,
yeah.
yeah. And that's what we really do it for. Of course, like the passion and the purpose of, again, the skills and the gifts that we share is very important. Um, but those are monetized and shared different ways, and all this stuff is done so that, we can have those memories, have places to go for those memories, have people there in relationships we built and nurtured into to enjoy all of the hard work that we do. So I'm super proud of you for making that call.
Right.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I love being home with my kids.
of course.
And we balance it with our work. Where are
Yeah,
we
we
supposed to
do.
be? What are we supposed to be doing? And all those things. But
Yes.
I know I'm really excited to have this conversation with our expert guest today
Mhm.
because I've been feeling like I've been running out on the edge of burnout, more
Yeah.
with caregiving than work, but
Mm.
I think it all kind of twines together. What about you?
No, same thing, especially with there's been so many huge transitions. This is it's like not one chapter is changing. It's like a whole book of chapters changing at the same time. Like the whole book is flipping. So, Jen, we need your help. We need your help. The listeners need your help. We're about to bring her up. And I'm like I was sharing, I'm right there with you. So I know our positions are different in this season. But I feel you. I support you. I'm here with you. And I get it, and we're going to get through it one breath at a time, one step at a time, and being intentional about who we are. And that's what we're about to talk to Jen about, this human design and how to actionably do it. So I'm excited. You ready for me
Am
to read her
too,
bio?
please. I'm so
Okay.
excited.
Okay, y'all. So Jenn Greiner of Divine Vitality is a coach, licensed counselor, and art therapist with 10 years experience in mental health. She utilizes human design to lead individuals to navigate their energy, break patterns, decondition, and stand in their power for improved boundaries and relationships. Help us welcome to the stage, Jenn Greiner. Hi, Jen.
Hi, ladies.
Welcome, Jen.
Yes.
I'm so
Welcome.
excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
I totally forgot that you were a counselor and an art therapist, in addition to using home and design.
It's
Well,
important.
really talk about turning the book. This year is really the year that I'm letting that go, and it's a challenge within itself to no longer identify as a therapist. Of
Mhm.
course I will always be a therapist, but to be letting my license go at the end of the year, I let my office go, transitioning clients, it's a change.
So can we talk about that a little bit? Because I think about, and some of my community keeps saying, Shannon, go back to school, go back to school. You need to get your PhD. And I'm like, y'all, I have ladies that have PhD. We're building a community maybe later, but I don't, and you're on the opposite side, right? Of you've done it and you're letting it go. So can you share how you, because I'm sure there's a list of people who feel that way, right? Can you share how that's been for you?
Yeah, yeah. It all started kind of when I found human design. Well, when human design found me 4.5 years ago, I was already kind of unhappy in the therapy box that I just felt really stuck in, adhering to all the licensure rules and regulations. I just didn't feel like I had the freedom to help my clients in the way that I saw that they needed and
Mhm.
still take care of myself, right?
I hear you.
Be able to be a caregiver for myself. So thankfully, I had human design. So I knew how I was meant to make decisions. So I sat with this decision. I mean, gosh, I've really sat with this decision like 3 or 4 years to
Wow.
go through it and make sure, like, am I really ready to do this?
Hmm.
And, how does this align with my values? Am I still going to be able to help people in the way, that fills my purpose? Because I'm here as a guide, a helper, like that is my calling. So yeah,
Yes.
it's a journey.
So,
I'm so
Jen, for our
excited.
listeners who might not know, and we've had a couple of other guests on, but not a lot in 165 episodes talking about human design, will
Mhm.
you give our listeners just the 3 sentence story about what human design is and how it found you?
Yeah, so I simply describe it as energy mechanics. It's your internal energetic blueprint of who you were designed to be, who you are created to be in this lifetime, here and now. So it combines ancient and modern philosophies of astrology, the Kabbalah tree of life, the chakra system, the Chinese I Ching, and quantum physics. So there's different pieces that really all come together to complete the puzzle of human design. And actually, it found me in a time of burnout.
Mm.
I was burned out trying to see all the clients, trying to run a business, trying to do things outside, having another business. And I was priding myself on working 12-hour days, which now
Mhm.
looking back, like it's just so crazy that I did that and that I survived. So yeah, when I found human design and understood that I'm the projector energy type, I don't have the internal raw energy that just fuels me. Like I'm not an energizer bunny. I do best working about 4 hours a day. So I felt really seen by this system to say, oh, that is actually my energy. No wonder why I've been burned out, overworking, trying to people please, lacking boundaries, not taking care of myself. So once I started to align my life and my work, because work was actually much easier, just kind of diminishing the days and times that I was seeing clients and how much I was taking on, but implementing it into my personal life and really setting boundaries with the people around me so that I could protect my energy. I started to kind of come out of burnout, started to actually get some rest.
Did you know that you were burnt out when human design found you, or did it show that to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, now it's like, oh yeah, I wasn't really eating. I was tired all the time. I was drained. I had headaches. Like, yes, those are all symptoms of burnout. But in the moment, had you asked me, hey, Jen, are you burnt out? I'd been
Right.
like, nope, I'm ready to go. What's
Right.
next?
This sounds like yesterday. That makes sense. I said a headache. I never have headaches. So can we talk about, and I think we're good, right? But yesterday I thought I was going to go work again for another shift. I said, you know what? No, I'm going to take a nap. And that's what needed to happen. So can we talk more about that when you find yourself in burnout, right? We're talking about being intentional with our human design. Where does somebody start when they find themselves there, and maybe they don't find themselves there, but I'll leave it at, where does somebody start?
Yeah. So getting your free human design chart, you do really need your exact time of
Mhm.
birth. That does matter. There's a lot of different ways to figure it out. But grabbing your chart online, lots of different places,
Yeah.
and seeing what your energy type is, right? When I found out I was a projector and understanding what that means, there's 5 energy types. That's when I was like, whoa, this is true, authentic me. So just starting there can unlock doors. I mean, I fell down the Google rabbit hole in 3 hours of my life, God, and I was like, well, my life has just changed.
Yep, 66-page document over here. I was like, I'm reading all of this tonight. I get it. So we were
Shannon,
about
wait, before we scooch over,
Mhm.
remind listeners what your type is.
manifester.
And I'm a generator.
Beautiful.
So yeah, so what would you say to that, Jen? Like, how do we be intentional about being centered and operating from a place of alignment?
Yeah, so I love that we have the differentiation here because Christine, being a generator, you make up 70% of the world. Generators and manifesting generators. They're about half and half in that 70%. But you guys are the doers. Like you do have the energy. When it lights you up, like you go do. It's when it doesn't light you up and you're pushing yourself, oh, I have to do this, that you will burn out. And then the other 3 types, so the projector, the manifester, and a reflector, we don't have that defined sacral. We don't have that consistent energy. So it's so important for us to rest and honor our need for rest, our rest cycles. We don't know when enough is enough. So to try to gain that wisdom of knowing all the
Mhm.
signs and symbols, right? Shannon, you probably
This
found that.
was yesterday. I said, I need to stop. It was 11:30. I said, I need to stop. Yes.
Yeah. And projectors are 20% of the
Mm.
world. We're the newest type. So we've been really conditioned, all of us really, to be generators, right? Society, where we've been in this generator society that prides itself on hustle, do. What's the output? What do you have to show for it? And in many ways, like I guide people. So I don't have anything like tangible to show you, like sure, testimonials, but not the things that Christine, you do your book, like all these amazing things that you do. And then being a manifester, that's only 8%. So I love that you're here. And manifestors are here to create new things, but
Mm.
you need to rest and you need to let people know what you're doing before you head off to go do it so that you can stay in alignment. And then reflectors, my goodness, they're only 1% and they are so special because they're completely open. They're just receiving energy. So it's so important for them to have time and space to meet their needs, to just be reflecting, right? Reflectors, reflecting back to people to honor the ebbs and flows of energy, really with the moon that kind of come.
Mhm.
So yeah, just knowing that type and implementing it in your personal life and seeing how you can begin to implement it in work is where to start.
Yeah. We also talked about, where is it in my notes? We talked about strategy and authority, right? Can you speak more to that and what it means for people when they're looking at their charts?
Yeah. So when you get your chart, there should be strategy right on there so that you don't have to forget it or remember it. If you forget it,
Right.
it's okay. It's right there. So
Yes.
yeah, each type has their strategy. So Christine, as a generator and any manifesting generators, the strategy is to respond. And it's also more of a wait to respond. It's not that reacting and being impulsive. It's really just pausing, checking in with your gut, because that's that sacral that you have connection to, and saying, okay, how do I respond? And make sure that you are responding. Many people won't respond and they're like, oh, I won't speak here. And that's not going to bode well. And then for projectors, we're all about recognition. We really need to be recognized for our gifts, for what we have here to bring to the world. And then it's waiting for the invitation. So I was so grateful when you both invited me here.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this feels so good. Like, yes, I'm going to show up.
Mm.
And then for manifestors, I mentioned before, it's about informing, right? You're here to initiate. So as long as you're informing, letting people know what you're going to do, what magic you're about to run off to bring to the world, that's going to help keep you aligned. And then for reflectors, it's about waiting a lunar cycle. They really need to wait 28 days for clarity, for things to pop up, just to really ride and always come back to themselves, because they're, constantly absorbing their environment and whoever they're around. So really just taking that break and just keep checking in over that month to see how they're doing.
I love it.
It is always fascinating to me when I hear somebody go through these, because then different people pop into my life about, okay, because, before I learned about the system, especially it's the reflectors, right, that need to wait 28 days.
Mm.
As a generator who's a doer, I had a hard time understanding. Like, what are we waiting on? And then hearing about this cycle and realizing, oh, okay, not just we're different personalities, but there's different rhythms for how we work and how we work together.
So, Jenn, can you speak more to that? Because I know we talked about the cycles, right? The rest cycle, the creative cycle. What are the different cycles and how can we be intentional about them?
Yeah, those cycles, the ones you just mentioned, are so unique to manifestors. Like, you guys do ride these different cycles to know when you're kind of charged up and to utilize that energy. Because if you're forcing yourself, like, no, I need to rest, like, you're not going to feel good if you have the energy. And so manifestors, you have a motorized throat. Like, you're here to just create and express and put it out. So if you're kind of suffocating your creativity, like you're kind of wearing a mask and, covering yourself and your expression, but then also honoring when you do need to rest. And kind of the same goes for projectors and reflectors. We don't have that more consistent creative up cycle, I guess you could say. So we really just need to honor when we need to rest. So, when I'm working a long day, I realize, oh my gosh, I haven't laid down. I haven't rested. I haven't come back to my own energy. I may not have even checked in with my own needs, right? Like, do I need food? Do I need water? Do I need to take a shower? Because maybe I've forgotten to do that. So it's just really bringing rest in. And, this rest piece can be said for generators, because there are many generators that do have a lot of openness, a lot of white centers in their chart where they're absorbing energy. So they need to rest too. So it really depends, but everyone does need rest.
Well, and I have the question about that personally, but also for our listeners, right? Because women have so many responsibilities, right? And caregive and work responsibility and community responsibilities. How do they identify Because I found in my life resting is sometimes a challenge, right? And so how do you start with identifying your cycle of when you need to rest, but also carving out space to make that happen?
Yeah, there's different aspects within your chart. When I do human design readings with people, we certainly can look at that. There's different love gates about yourself. There's different physical things that you can look at to see. Because, to give myself as an example, there were many times that I was like forcing myself to rest. It's like, no, Jen, you need to rest. And I was getting really bitter. I was falling into my shadow, my not self theme. I was like, this is not helping.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. The story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So
yes, esthetician tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. Especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
So when I realized that I actually have a lot of energy in my design, I'm an energy projector. I have sometimes more energy than a generator might. So I realized that, okay, I have to go to the gym every day. I need to be physically active, and that's going to help me get that energy out. So then it's much easier for me to rest. So it's really about honoring like what you have within you. And then of course it's those boundaries, the boundaries with yourself. You need to do this, the boundaries with whoever is in your family, in your work,
right,
whoever around you, to say, hey, this is what I need. How can you support me? Can we do this together? Or how can you encourage me and hold me accountable to doing this for myself?
Yeah. And
I
I
love
wanted
that,
to,
Jen.
yeah, definitely. And the questions are important, right? Having the right questions, having those conversations. I was surprised when you said that you were a therapist and you still found yourself there. So can you talk more about that? How was it that you're helping other people and you still struggle with the people pleasing and the boundary setting? Was it because of how full your schedule was, or was it something else?
So mostly, as I recall back then, I was getting these invitations. People were asking me to do things. And I was like, yeah, like I got lit up and I was like, oh my gosh, a projector is getting this invitation. That sounds so exciting. Like, yes, of course, I want to, do a work event, do a networking event, get together with you, have a friendship, like whatever it was. I started saying yes to everything. And then I would look at my calendar and I would be like, how am I going to do all of this? So part of it was for me, part of it, I was saying yes because they were asking, right? I was kind of pleasing them to say, oh yeah, sure, I can help you, even if it actually was a no for
Right.
me.
Understood. That makes sense. Yeah, and I had to have one of my professors tell me that. I literally didn't realize it. She said, "Shannon, you don't always have to say yes." And I was like, "What's she talking about?" Like, I didn't realize how much I said yes, and that, like, the balance of yes and no helps so many people say no more or say yes, in places that light them up if sometimes they say no to themselves too quickly.
Right. And this really leads us into the other part of human design, the authority that,
Mhm.
strategy and authority. If you're brand new, if you're an expert, like come back to strategy and authority.
Mhm.
Authority is decision making. It's how you're meant internally to make decisions. So as soon as I started being aware of and honoring, because it's a multi-step process for sure, and deconditioning in there too, checking in with my authority, like, is this a yes? And when it was not a yes, to say, let me get back to you, or not right now, or I don't think that's going to work, but let's check in down the road. So learning all the different ways to say no.
Mhm. Very important.
And Jen, can you expand on what different type of inner authorities there are?
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's 7 different authorities. They work in a hierarchy system. So I am an emotional authority. Half of the world is an emotional authority. You are too, Christine. Yeah.
Mm.
And are you too, Shannon?
Let me look. I think I closed my human design. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'll look it up while you're talking.
Okay. So the emotional authority is all about feels. We have to really ride our emotional wave. We really need to sleep on it. So that's why I got really good at saying, let me get back to you so that I could sleep on it, check in the next day. Like, is this a yes? Because like I mentioned before, I might have been riding their high. I might have been so excited. And I was like, yes. And then I would get home and I would be like, oh my God, like what? Oh, I really don't want to do this. How do I get out of it? Do I have to go? Right? All the people pleasing and the lack and
Mm,
the worth.
that makes sense.
So are you an emotional queen? Did
No,
you?
mine is actualizing authority, splenic.
Oh,
Mhm.
beautiful. Ooh.
What would you say to that?
So yeah, the spleen is kind of 2 more down. So next would be the sacral. So Christine, you do kind of have a sacral. That's the gut, the hit yes or no. Like Christine, you can trust your gut. Me and Shannon, like it's unreliable. Like if we go with our gut, which is very different than your splenic hit, Shannon, of intuition, right?
Mhm.
It's really that gut. It works on a yes or no. Christine, ask yourself yes, no questions all the time. You got it. You can answer them. Ultimately, write it out and feel it. But for you, Shannon, that splenic, it I love this authority, but it's honestly, I think one of the most challenging because it's really honoring that inner intuition, that little voice that guides you. And it comes once and only once. If you don't listen to it, usually it's not coming back.
Mm,
So it's really that in the moment, and everybody's works a little different. It's kind of where in your body, how you hear
mhm, mhm.
that voice that will guide you.
So important. That reminds me of this time. I'll tell this story, y'all. So there was one time, right? Leaving the restaurant, got home late, restaurant kitchen manager, and I'm unlocking my door. And I was dating somebody else at the time. And the voice said, um, he's not the one for you. And I said, oh, okay. I had been praying about it. I said, okay, let's see, right? And a few days later said, he's the one for you. I said, now wait a minute. Same sound like the same voice. What's going on, And I don't think that it was meant to be and everything worked out. And I believe that better comes after. Um, but I do hear you on I've questioned if I can trust it or not, trusting my gut. And because of this, and that makes sense, having to trust my yes or no and make sure that it's actually off of my own energy and what I want to do and not just riding somebody else's energy and excitement. So I think it's all lining up. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the other challenge with all of this is that the mind is not connected to our body, right? I mean, yes, there's the connection, but especially in human design, you can see like the top 3 centers are kind of apart from the body. So your mind is going to hijack you every time, right? Shannon, in that situation, you could have told yourself all these stories. You could go back to your young conditioning, like, oh, well, I have to find a husband and he's here. So I guess I might as well settle for him.
No, Lord. We're not settling, ladies. We're not settling. Okay. I'm listening to you, Jen.
Yeah. So like check your mind. I mean, it has
Yeah.
good things to say, having that non-attached clarity, like, okay, cool. But like
Right.
I had to make a huge decision a couple weeks ago. And once my body gave me the yes, my emotions were like, oh, this feels so good. I literally had to disconnect my mind. I was like, nope, no more. End of conversation. I don't want to hear your excuses. We're good to go.
Yeah.
And then just to run through the other authorities, there's the
Yes.
ego authority. That's all about worth. Like, is this worth my energy? Is my heart in it? Do I really want to do this? Then we have the mental authority, which is very challenging for projectors because the mind is the motor, but it's really thinking things through. It's putting things out there and then having them come back into your body to feel it. So it's challenging, and only 1% of the world has this. So it can be difficult. And then we have the self-projected. So that really comes from the identity. So you really need to speak it out again to feel it, but say like, does this align with who I am? Is there something in my voice that actually is hinting at no, like the tone, like there's something hiding underneath. Yes, I'm saying these words, but what I'm really saying is not for me. And then, of course, we have the reflector authority, which is waiting that 28 days.
Beautiful.
Even when you say waiting at 28 days, I get a little twitchy.
Good thing it is not your authority.
No, I don't
have to. You're in the moment. Ask yourself a yes/no question. You're good to go.
Right? I mean, I think about that, and I'm so glad I'm not in partnership with somebody that's a 28
good thing I'm not either.
Right? Because, yeah. I mean, thinking about this from both perspectives, right? From ourselves, but also who we're in relationship with personally and in business. Like, I don't know. I love all the different assessment systems and figuring, like, just help us to figure out how we, not to have judgment on it, but to say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, and this is the tweak we need to do together to be in harmony, right?
This became my primary assessment tool when I was still, having a thriving private practice. All of my clients, tell them about human design. Do you know your time of birth? Let's grab your chart, or are you game to learn this and utilize it? And I mean, treatment times were like nothing because I had my client's energetic blueprint. There was no trial and error. There was no me transferring, counter transference coming up. It was, okay, this is how you're designed to do this. Go home, try this, see if it works. I would say 9.9 times out of 10, they came back and they were like, yep, it worked. I'm good to go. What's next?
Beautiful. I love that. Ask your therapist what's next and stop dealing with the things of 20 years, 30 years. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I want to encourage people and women who are on the same journey as you, right, Jen? Because again, you're in a practice, you have an office, and you're here because you want to help people. And it might feel weird to say, I think this is a no. I think I should be going this way. And you're still in your purpose. I was listening to this podcast, and this woman dropped out of medical school after 2 years. And she built her husband's music career for 17 years and is now in wellness and doing all these amazing things. And you healing people in wellness is still you doing what you wanted to do as a doctor, So I just want to encourage people who are there, because usually it's still aligned and you still get the same end goal with more freedom, more alignment, and people get the help that they need. So it's beautiful. And I'm happy for you, Jen.
Yeah. It's so beautiful to see people achieving their goals and to feel good. Right?
Yeah.
When they're not in alignment, when they're not following that no, you're going to end up in burnout in one aspect or another. So when you can understand how you need to align and begin to put yourself first and know how to, And especially when you're working in a team or family, like when you made that comment, Christine, about like, thank goodness you're not with a reflector. Like, imagine if your child was a reflector and you're demanding a yes, no answer in the moment. Like, your child is going to be burned out solely because of that question.
That makes sense.
And I was thinking about that when you said, Jen, have I taken a shower today? Have I eaten? Because my youngest is often like that. And I was like, oh, I should run her chart and see what she's rolling with. And because we've made it work and done different assessments and different ways to do it. But I'm like, I don't know that I've ever done their human design charts. So it's an interesting tool. Right?
Yeah,
absolutely. For any relationship, that's really what I love doing, is looking at the one-on-one dynamics of two people, whether it be, work, relationship, familial, however it comes into play. But just understanding yourself, understanding the other, and knowing how to honor both makes a huge impact in everyone's life.
Yes.
What is really bubbling up before we move, Shannon, because I'm just, the stage of life I'm in is I've just lost one of my parents. And now I have a new relationship with my remaining parent, right? So I'm just thinking about that as it applies to this, Jen, because my sister and I are both like, my mom's probably going to be living with or near my sister and then with me part-time. And I'm like, oh, we should totally run our human designs because, we haven't been in that kind of a relationship for years, right? And this is shifting and changing. So I think about using these tools also when there's big changes. Like, okay, let's go back and look at, and what did you say? You said go back and look at the type,
the strategy and the authority.
Okay.
Yeah, because your human design doesn't change. Unlike other personality assessments that are subjective, your conscious might change. The human design accounts for your conscious and your unconscious. That's what I love. It makes it so cool. We know what's actually happening under the surface. So yeah, it's there to utilize and see. Of course, there is the conditioning aspect. So, take things with a grain of salt. But yeah, it's what you have to fall back on, right? Anytime that you're questioning, just go check it, be reminded of who you are at your core and see how it can play out.
Yes. Can you speak more to conditioning and where you go with how you talk about it with your clients?
Yeah. Yeah. So conditioning is who we've been told and what we've been told we should do, who we should be, right? All those shoulds, all those stories that we've come up with. So deconditioning is pulling apart who we are not to let that go. The stories that are no longer serving us, that aren't in alignment with who we are. I was raised by a manifesting generator. So it was, you should know this answer in the moment. And now it's like, no, actually, I shouldn't know because I don't have the defined sacral like you do. And I'm an emotional authority. So I need to sleep on it and wait, I can give you an answer tomorrow. So that was a big part of my deconditioning, that it is okay for me to not know in the moment. Like everything in my chart is like, wait, feel it out. Just wait. You don't know, wait more. So letting go of all of the pieces that are holding us back, that are not letting us thrive and step into our power. So deconditioning, I start by looking at the types, right? What type are you? I described I'm a projector. How can I decondition that I'm not a generator type? So that in and of itself is a lot to look at. And then in human design, those different shapes that you see, those are the energy centers. So the ones that are defined are consistent for you, like that's your gift. They run somewhat smoothly. There's, of course, deconditioning to do. But the white ones, that's where we absorb energy. So I start by looking there to decondition. What are your beliefs? How are these functioning? How does all this feel for you? What does it look like? What do we need to pull away, to pick apart, and of course, to let go of, which that attachment can also be a big challenge when you've identified with it for so long.
That makes perfect sense. This is amazing, Jen. And even though I got the 66-page PDF, y'all, this is not the free one. This was the free. No, this was not the free one. So yours might not be 66 pages if you go to one of these free links, right? But I know that there's even more information than this, Jen. So where can our listeners find you if they would love to get connected and work with you on this?
Absolutely. I would love that. I love chatting, connecting. So I hang out on Instagram. My website just popped up, so that's another great place to check things out. My Instagram handle is The Vital Jen. And on there, share a lot of content, have the link in bio to check
Yes.
everything out. So definitely DM me, reach out. It's an invitation. And as a projector, I absolutely love invitations.
Love
Did
it.
you said Be Vital or The Vital?
Thank you. THE. There we go.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Got you, of course.
I just wanted to make sure I was following you too. So
Definitely gonna make sure.
here we go. Great.
I love it. So, Jen, every week we talk about wisdom in action, right? We talked a lot about how we help our clients. What are you doing personally for yourself this week for your occupational wellness?
Oh, you said it so well, Shannon. Like I am bringing it into my body because especially like I had a similar day to you yesterday and
Yes.
like my head is just spinning. And like we've been talking about, it's the body. And it's really with human design. Like, yes, you can think about it and intellectualize it,
Mhm.
but sometimes that doesn't serve you. So it's really bringing it into the body. So I have really been checking in. What am I feeling in my body? What does my body need? How am I taking care of my body? Of course, in my design, like this is what I need. So it's just those embodied pieces because without that, I don't have the wisdom because I don't have the awareness of what's going on in my body. And I can't take aligned action if I don't know what I'm needing, what I have the energy to do and put forth. So body awareness.
Mhm. I love it. Okay,
Speaking my language.
yes,
What do you got this week, Shannon, for wisdom in action?
body awareness. Let's see. Let's see what I have written down. So much good stuff. Mm. I think I'm gonna say two. What do I want to say? I think I'm gonna say hashtag be aware, right? And as again, year anniversaries for big things come up, we talk about body memories, right, Jen? So anytime there's something that happens in a year, next year I'm putting on my calendar to kind of watch myself. Um, and this week is big, so just being aware of how I feel in certain situations. Is this yes and this plan that I'm making for all these hours at the beginning of the day realistic? If so, okay, that's what you need to do today. If not, let's honor that, like you said. So hashtag be aware. Yeah.
Mm,
What about you,
I love
Christine?
that. Well, I really was taking in, Jen, when you said that as a generator, that I need to pause before I respond. And I've been practicing this. I'm not really always good at it because I like to respond. but but I think mine is hashtag pause because I'm coming out of a big thing and looking at the fall, looking at next year, and I need to remember to pause because our society so much is like, what's next, what's next, what's next, and so I think for my occupational wellness, I'm going to pause and breathe. And yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And remember, y'all, if you're not resting and resetting after everything, you are not done with that work cycle. So, yes, please make sure you include it. Yes, yes. Well, Jen, this was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you would like to add before we let you go?
Yeah, just with everything else you guys were saying, like come back to your body. Like your body knows. Like we just
Mm-hmm.
hit August and I'm seeing stuff about fall and autumn. And I'm like, I'm in Maine. I just want to enjoy my summer. So there's
Right.
this aspect of like, okay, I need to detach from all of that so that I can just
Mm-hmm.
tune into myself, my energy, and bring joy into my life. Like, how do we find the joy?
Right.
Yes.
Mm.
And I think that it's there, being present. And so much of our consumerism and the way we're marketed to is the next thing. And the break in
Mhm.
between, Christine, like you're saying, there's not a week of white space in the calendar. Like that's not, there's a sale somewhere in there. So yes, I hear what you're saying.
Mm.
Thank you so
Such gratitude for your wisdom, Jenn, for your work in the world. We will put your website and your contact info in our show notes for folks to be able to find you at your website or your Instagram, and just so grateful that you have this incredible tool and that you're an expert at it and that you shared it with us today and our listeners. I don't know about you, Shannon, but I felt my shoulders go down as we were
yeah.
talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this.
Yesterday makes so much sense. I was like, what's going on? Like, that makes sense.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jenn. We're so grateful to be connected, and we look forward to talking to you more.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you both so much.
you're welcome. Talk to you soon.
So fun. Right?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
makes me want to dive back in. I
Oh, I'm definitely
haven't,
diving in.
I'm diving in, but I'm also going to talk to my sister about this with my mom. Like
Yes,
that
yeah.
really came through strong.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
gonna be
oh, yeah,
beautiful.
we've got tools, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
We've
and
got
it
tools.
gives me peace. It gives me peace not only for yesterday, but for
Mhm.
the questioning of trusting my gut, because that's definitely something that you want to do. But if it's open, then that makes perfect sense.
Little
Yeah,
voice
trust, yeah,
inside.
the Holy
Like that.
Spirit and the intuition and all the things that make that up. So, and that has definitely served me. So I'm excited that
So I meant to ask you while she was still on, but what does your chart say is your not self theme? When you're
Oh,
not
I
in
know
your
that one.
theme, what is it?
You ready for this?
Yep.
Anger.
I was curious.
Oh yeah, the anger. I
Curious.
have her under control. She had to get under
Right?
control in elementary school. It was gonna be
Right.
bad. It was gonna be
So
horrible.
mine is so fascinating. Mine is frustration,
Okay.
which is it's right on the mark with me because
Mhm.
like if I would get upset with my kids, they go, "Oh, you're angry." I'm like, "I'm really not. I'm
Yeah.
frustrated." I
Okay.
think I
Yeah.
and so it's funny to me, like to something I said like a long
Mhm.
time in my life to be,
It's
and I don't
true.
have a lot of the anger or the fire. I mean,
Yeah.
if you get me to that, whoop, you've like something big is happening because
Yeah.
that's not the way I operate in the world, right?
Right.
But because it's not a part of my chart. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
it's
it
so
was funny.
fascinating.
It's so far removed. Um, Somebody questioned it. I can't remember who I had shared it with. They were like, "Really? Do you even get mad?" I said, "Oh, baby, you have no idea. I just have I've gotten it so under control, and I really
Right?
try not to let people move me like that. I try not to even let it get there, which is why I communicate so much.
Right?
But what this taught me is that I need to communicate on the front end of things too. Hey, these are my
Mm-hmm.
next few steps that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do, and that always
Yeah.
makes it better working with
I know
partners.
that about
Colleagues.
you, being a
Yeah.
business partner with you. You're really good at that too.
Thank
Yeah,
you. I
really good at
appreciate it.
that. So,
Yeah.
what you
This
got going on with Shaylo Glow and anything
Ooh.
our listeners need to know about?
Yeah, so if you guys have not been listening to every single episode, you may have missed our move, right? I know, right? You may have missed our move. We were on Auburn Avenue. We've been there for going on 2 years, right? We are
Mm,
now back to e-commerce and popping up. So you've seen us on the Beltline. We were just there last weekend. We'll be back there this month. Whoop, whoop. Again,
okay.
it's August. So we're super excited about that. I have been looking forward to selling on the Beltline for a while, and the vendors at the event were amazing. So check us out online. We're building different stuff on the back end for you guys, some things that'll help benefit our glowers who get Shayla Glow all the time, right? We want you guys to
Mhm.
get rewards. We have some stuff coming from the affiliates, and the affiliate list is still growing. So, we're again talking about occupational wellness. If you know and love Shayla Glow and would like it to help you compensate that income every month, we have an option for you to share it and make money from it. And so that's the side that we're growing back online. And anything else new? I think I would just say insurance. If you're
Mm,
interested in being intentional about your wellness, what I love about being connected to people like you and Jen, they get you ladies when they get me to shop for them for free, right? So you're going to get a reference resource, usually with an insurance agent for life or health insurance. You would just get the policy, right? We'll shop for your tailored policy and whatever you need, but you'll also get these wellness resources, right? So you'll have the link for Women Connected in Wisdom. You'll have the link for Shaylo Glow, probably Legal Shield for help with wills and stuff, and we'll build it out. But I'm super excited to help people with their wellness here on the podcast and through those different mediums.
Yeah. And open enrollment's coming sooner than later in October. So, folks, if you need support on that, Shannon is the expert for you on that.
Yeah, and that's specifically health insurance. Life insurance, all you can get throughout the year. Health insurance, specifically when there's a special enrollment period and there's different things that make that happen for you, right? Moving a job, getting married, divorced. But life insurance, we always need, and we could talk about that now before it gets booked. So whenever you're ready. Yeah. What about you, Christine? I know you have offerings. Where are you at with everything?
I'm pausing. I mean, folks can sign up for my newsletter and know they can sign up for my link tree and know where I'm going to be. Cause I've always got something going on and fun interplay things happening, but, I'm going to be at Alternate Roots Week. It's Roots Week where, arts and activism meet. And so I'm going to be there, networking with some of that next week, networking with some of my people and doing some interplay and, I am just trying to take a couple of deep breaths and figure out, trying not to add anything new to the calendar. There's already enough on there. And honestly, looking towards 2025 about what we want to create and what we want to do and how we want to be in community. So,
and so that's what I'll end it on, y'all. What would you like to see from Women Connected in Wisdom? We've talked about virtual events, right? We've talked about in person. We've talked about volume 3. All these things are on the way, right? But we also like to build it based on what you like to see and what will help you with your wellness. So,
and we've talked about destination retreats. Where
and
you want to go?
Let us
Where
know.
you want to go?
I was thinking Hawaii. We've talked about Costa Rica. We've talked about a couple of places, New Mexico. So let us know. Let us know what you got from our and Jen's conversation today, talking about from burnout to alignment with human design. And we'll be back live here next week at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 166. In the meantime, don't forget,
be well,
be wise, and be whole. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Grateful.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.